On this special Valentine's Day episode of Brilliant, I'll present a trio of tales of love that transcended the grave. Also, it wouldn't be a Valentine's Day special without a new installment of Brilliant After Dark, where I've got a special Valentine's Day urban legend waiting for your pleasure. So stay tuned. I'm Alan Brill. Welcome to Brilliant, a podcast from the mind of Brill. Warning, it gets dark in here. Okay, let's crack into the weird files. For you this week, I have from the Mirror, on March 17th, 1974, this report. A Swedish couple watched a performance by famed spoonbender Uri Gellar. 2 months later, the lady discovered she was pregnant, which she found somewhat puzzling because she had an IUD in several trouble-free years. But the doctor discovered that her copper coil was so bent out of shape that the device was no longer effective. The couple blamed metal-bending powers of Gellar. Okay, and also, in May 1995, this came off the AP Wire, and I love this one. Suffering from a drought in Bangladesh in May 1995, farmers in the Rainpur province caught frogs and then proceeded to marry them. Ceremonies were performed in both Islamic and Hindu traditions, and the newlywed frogs were released back into the ponds from whence they came. 12 frog weddings were performed in the span of a few days. When they asked why they did it, a farmer said, well, we did it before and it worked. Why did you do it the first time? That's what I want to know. What made you think, hey, if you marry these frogs? My first case is of Mr. and Mrs. Lorne. Mr. Lorne absolutely loved birthdays. On his final birthday, he received 2 elaborate birthday cakes, one from his family and one from an organization they both belonged to, which pleased him immensely. He loved the attention, loved the gifts, loved getting 2 cakes. Now, Mrs. Lorne had the misfortune of being born in late December, and her family not having much money, it was used to her birthday being overlooked mostly. Naturally, Mr. Lorne remedied this after, they were married. Her birthday became a big deal, but for, her entire childhood and, early adulthood growing up, no birthdays. But, so she couldn't help teasing him about him getting 2 birthday cakes when for most of her life she didn't receive any. Well, he laughed and he told her that this year he'd see to it that she had 2 cakes as well, and then, they'd be square. Unfortunately, a week later, he died of a massive heart attack. Now, the holidays were understandably hard on her that year, and her family didn't live nearby, and her friends didn't know when her birthday was. Like I said, her birthday was no big deal to her, so she didn't, advertise it. And so on her birthday, she was just sitting alone on her couch, grieving, missing her husband, just feeling incredibly alone. And then there was a knock on the door. And so she opened the door, and it was her friend, and she had a cake and a carton of ice cream. She had caught a bus and came all the way across the city to bring it to her. She said that she had just gotten home from work when she heard Mr. Lorne's voice, loud as day, clear as if they were in the same room. And he told her that it was Mrs. Lorne's birthday and that she should hurry out and buy her a cake. No sooner had the 2 ladies finished celebrating and eating a slice of cake than a young lady that was boarding with Mrs. Lorne came in with a box that also contained an elaborate birthday cake. Mrs. Lorne had never mentioned her birthday to her boarder or anything. And so, it looks like Mr. Lorne kept his promise from beyond the grave. We can't dismiss the possibility that perhaps Mrs. Lorne unknowingly transmitted her needs telepathically, like that in her grief while she's sitting there on the couch, she, sent this need for her birthday out there, and that it manifested itself in the form of a visit from Mr. Lorne to her friend, and that her boarder, that it just attracted her to it, let her know what to do. The brain's an incredible thing, and we don't understand it so fully. Yeah, we don't understand it fully. And this could be a psychic projection, a manifestation on her part in the form of her husband's voice to her friend and just her need to her border. That could just be that her friend knew when her birthday was. It was her friend, and even if she didn't tell her, I mean, you can figure these things out. The boarder might have known it was her birthday by various means and wanted to surprise her, and they both would have known she was having a hard time. Although I can't imagine her friend would bring up her dead husband if that wasn't it. But I mean, those are possibilities, right? Absolutely. But I think that her husband reached out from beyond the grave to keep a promise that he had made to her in life, and one that was important to him. Next story I call Communion. Mrs. Lois Baker attended communion the day after her husband died. She went to the early service and just was filled with anguish as she just sat in the pew and thought about the long years that she had left ahead of her alone without her husband. When she felt a presence beside her, and she knew it was her husband, but she never turned to look because she didn't want to destroy the impression that he was there with her, because it was a great comfort. And when she went forward to receive the sacrament, she felt him walk with her down to the altar. She felt his presence beside her as she had in life. And but whenever she knelt to receive the wafer and the wine, he sensed that he left her again, but she was filled with great comfort, and though she no longer sensed him beside her. Now, a few days later, she was visiting with the priest, and he told her this, quote, "As I was turning to face the altar, I had the most peculiar feeling that your husband had knelt down beside you. When you walked to the altar to receive the sacraments, I had to blink my eyes. It almost seemed as though I could perceive a dim outline of John standing just behind you." I think he was there to comfort her in her great time of anguish. Again, it could, be a psychic projection. Perhaps that her need generated this image. Now, the reason I say that there's a projection is because the priest saw the outline of her husband, so we have that validation that he was there, not just a sense or a feeling that she had that he was nearby. We have outside sources confirming, I seen him. So there could be other explanation, but again, it sounds like her love came from across the veil to comfort her in her time of need. This next one I call Moment of Death. And it is from William Sorensen, and it appeared in the July 1959 issue of Fate magazine. Sorensen, he discovered this account. It was written on like yellowed paper, and it was folded, and it was in an old Bible that belonged to a cousin of his. So that's the origin. This is where it came from. 18-year-old Doris Stark was engaged to Arne Borglum, a cavalryman who was among the first to be called to the front in 1864 when Denmark was attacked by Germany and Austria. The couple planned to be married when Arne could manage a long furlough, but until then he had to go, be with his troop. And it was just after 8 p.m. on April 18th in 1864 when Dora, her parents, her two brothers, and her sister were sitting on the parlor, occupied, reading, knitting, whatever the heck they did in 1864. But they were all gathered, having slight conversation. And Sorensen writes, quote, "Suddenly they saw Arne standing just inside the door leading to a hall. He looked exactly as when they had last seen him, except that he was pale. His blue uniform was splotched with mud, and his saber was missing. The scabbard at his side hung empty. All 5 members of the family witnessed this and rushed to greet him. All thoughts of how he had arrived and gotten to the home so silently were secondary from welcoming the young warrior home. Dora rushed to embrace him, but when she was but a few feet from him, he vanished." The family quickly ascertained what this meant. They knew that he had died on the front, and they were not, surprised. And a week later, they received a letter from one of his comrades telling them how he had perished in fierce fighting on a road near Flensburg. Arne fought off 5 Austrians, but was shot in the back, and his saber was taken from his dying hand. And this happened at the precise time he manifested himself to his love and to her family. So, again, psychic projection from him dying and wanting his last thoughts being so strongly of his beloved that he managed to appear to her at the moment of death. And there's her parents, her two brothers, her two sisters. So that's what, 6 people that, other than her, that saw it. Yes, that's a lot of validation. A lot of people saw his apparition. Just actually, I think it was one sister. So it'd be 5 people besides her. So 6 people total. But saw this apparition. That's a lot of validation. And I think that at the moment of his death, his last thoughts were so strongly of his beloved that he came and seen her one last time, and she as well got to see him. So, stories of love that transcends the veil of death. I got these out of Otherworldly Affairs by Brad Steiger. You know it's Brad Steiger. You know it's good. You know it's fun. You know it's interesting. Again, great book. And just, 3 of the cases and the accounts that can be found in it. It's a wonderful book. So, hey, check it out. Okay, guys, you got little ears listening. It might be time to send them away. This next segment may not be for all ages. And, if it's easier just to turn it off, then this is the last segment anyway. So, I get it, and I'll see you next week. Keep it weird until then, because it's time to pull the shades and dim the lights and snuggle up with the one you love, because it's time for Brilliant After Dark. Okay, on this Brilliant After Dark, we're going to look at a Valentine's Day urban legend. It's a little different than what I normally do, but and this urban legend's been traced back to the 1920s. It was pretty risque for the 1920s as well, so here we go. In the 1920s, a young fella was looking for a Valentine's Day gift for his new girlfriend. He really liked her, but they hadn't been together that long, so he wanted to get her something nice, but not too bold. It's kind of a tricky situation, so he needed a woman's advice on what to get, so he brought his sister with him to the department store to help him pick out a gift. And with her help, he selected a fine pair of gloves. They're, really nice gloves. It's probably a really cool thing in the 1920s. And while they were there, she bought a pretty racy set of undergarments for the upcoming holiday, which is, it's kind of awkward to buy with your sibling, but, what they do what they do. They're a very close family that way. So, they bought the items that took them to have them gift wrap. And when they took them to the gift wrapping counter, the guy did a good job. They were in 2 similar sized boxes, but he mixed them up when he returned the boxes. So he gave the sister the gloves and him the racy underwear to send to his new girlfriend. Now, the young man, he had to go off on a business trip or something. He wasn't actually going to be there on Valentine's Day. So he dropped them off in the mail to make sure she got them, along with this letter. Now, remember, he thinks he's sending the gloves along with this letter, but they got mixed up. So he is instead sending her the gift box with sexy underwear along with this letter. Darling, I chose these because I noticed you are not in the habit of wearing any when we go out in the evening. If it had not been for my sister, I would have chosen the long ones with the buttons, but she wears short ones that are easy to remove. These are a delicate shade, but the lady I bought them from showed me the pair she had been wearing for the past 3 weeks, and they were hardly soiled. I had her try yours on for me, and she looked really smart. I wish I were there to put them on you for the first time, as no doubt many other hands will have come into contact with them before I have a chance to see you again. When you take them off, remember to blow on them before putting them away, as they will naturally be a bit damp from wearing. Just think how many times I will kiss them during the coming year. I hope you will wear them for me when I return. All my love, Hollingsworth. P.S. The latest style is to wear them folded down with a little fur showing. It would be quite the embarrassing snafu, quite the embarrassing mix-up. But then again, it might have come out really well for him. We don't know. Again, this is just an urban legend. They managed to trace it all the way back to the 1920s. It appeared in newspaper articles and magazines ever since then. True or not? Probably not. It's an urban legend. I would be highly, highly doubtful that there's even a little bit of truth in this. But, hey, you never know. That's why it's an urban legend. And, that's it. Thank you guys for joining me this week in pre-apocalyptic America. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. And until then, keep it weird.